I began to feel that, as an adult, I had lost something important that had, for all my outward disadvantages, enriched me as a kid. A single phrase kept returning to my mind: "By their fruits ye shall know them." It comes from a parable from Jesus recounted in Matthew chapter 7, verses 16 through 20. "Ye shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns or figs of thistles? Even so, every good tree bringeth forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit. A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. Every tree that bringeth not forth good fruit is hewn down, and cast into the fire. Wherefore by their fruits ye shall know them." What I saw around me, and what started my journey back to my faith, was that Christianity bore the best fruit. It was the set of ideas and practices that generated the most good, the most truth, and the most beauty of anything I'd encountered. Nothing else came close. I don't mean to undervalue the core of the Christian faith, that Jesus Christ is the only begotten Son of God, was born of the Virgin Mary, was crucified for our sins, and rose from the dead. And along my own faith journey, I also came to realize that salvation is impossible if man fails to reconcile himself to and find peace with God. In 2024, I gave an interview on this topic and got some pushback from fellow Christians for talking too little about Jesus. Here's what I said. Look, I think there were a couple of things that really appealed about Christianity to me. I was thinking about the big questions, and when I started to think about the big things, like, what do I actually care about in my life? I really want to be a good husband. I really want to be a good father. I really want to be a good member of the community. I wanted to be a virtuous human being, in other words. That was sort of the thing that I kept on coming back to, was how to be virtuous. And I thought the Christianity that I had discarded as a young man answered the questions about being a virtuous person better than the logic of the American meritocracy. My critics were half right. There are undoubtedly better answers out there, but the truth is the truth. I eventually came to believe that Jesus Christ is in fact the only begotten Son of God, but that's not where I started. I didn't meet Jesus on my way to Damascus. I didn't see him cure a blind man, but I did witness faint echoes of his teachings refracted in the world around me. I saw my dad and stepmom welcoming drug addicts into their home to detox when local hospitals had turned them away. I saw grandmothers taking care of their grandkids with divinely inspired patience. I saw normal people who, unconcerned with whether they'd ever be rich or powerful, were more content and less restless than friends in my Ivy League circles. I looked into my son's big brown eyes and realized he didn't need me to be rich or powerful. He just needed me to be a good dad. In becoming a husband and a father, my world simultaneously narrowed and expanded. I began to think about virtue and vice and sin without having the vocabulary to understand them. And I began to see that the fruits I had reaped since discarding my faith were rotten. I had become, without realizing it, a striver, so focused on winning the game of life that I had neglected the deeper truths. Despite the material comforts of the life I'd built, my own shortcomings, my own sins, weighed on me as never before. It was a surprise in some respects, but it shouldn't have been. Across my life, it was often the people of faith, the people I had once derided as simpletons, who seemed to have their act together. They weren't chasing credentials, they didn't care which college anyone went to, but they had something I didn't. Their trees were bearing much better fruit. Around this time, a friend who happened to be a priest wrote me a thoughtful email in which he shared the idea of a true witness. Maybe you find the idea of a dead man rising from the dead insane, but consider this. If you believe the church's teachings on virtue and sin, if you think Christians, however imperfectly, are on the right path, if you think the moral teachings of Jesus are both profound and true, then consider that all these people are right about the divinity of Christ. The church doesn't ask you to accept everything uncritically. It will accept faith the size of a mustard seed. But you must consider that a true witness won't lead you astray. This book is
To keep listening to this audiobook for free, click the link in the description. It will take you to a free Audible trial where you can listen to this and many other books for free for 30 days.